Happy Monday and welcome to Yahoo Sports Daily. She's Caroline Fenton. I am Jason Fitz. It is an electric Monday morning because we have all sorts of chaos to get through. Chaos from the college football world. Believe me, we will talk about what the College Football Playoff Committee decided. Some expertise on that will join us. And, of course, tons of reaction from everything from over the course of the weekend in the NFL. Caroline, let's start with Sunday Night Football. The Chiefs fall to the Texans. Are Kansas City, is it over or were they done? Are you sticking a fork in the Chiefs finally right now?
Yes, I said it on Friday. I said, Jason Fitz, hear my words. If the Chiefs lose to the Texans on Sunday, I have to hold ourselves accountable and say they are officially done. Now, mathematically, statistically, they are not totally and completely eliminated from the postseason. But don't we all know it? Can't we all see the writing on the wall? Doesn't it feel like the Chiefs are absolutely positively done? Now, I've been doing some number crunching on the NFL postseason predictor, and if the Chiefs win out, they have about a 52% chance of making the postseason, which, I mean, for the Chiefs to have a 52% chance of making the postseason if they win out, that just feels like such unfamiliar territory for this team. But the fact of the matter is, the Chiefs do not control their own destiny. The Chiefs are going to need a whole lot of help around the rest of the AFC to just squeak in to the postseason. So just for that alone, yes, Fitz, they're done. And it's not even just the record, because the record is bad. I've seen so many hilarious memes on Twitter of, comparing the Chiefs and the Dolphins records. But it's true, they have the exact same record, and we view these two teams in such completely different lights. But it's the way that it's looked. It's the way that the Texans defense just worked the Chiefs yesterday. It's the way that the Chiefs were basically allergic to converting on third downs. It's the way that it felt like all of the things that used to go right for this Chiefs team last year and the year prior and Super Bowl run seasons just aren't going their way. Like, a football is a very weirdly shaped ball. Sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way. For so many years and for so many games, the ball just bounced the Chiefs' way. Whether it was because of luck or whether it was because of that man right there having a certain sense of magic and positive juju around him. Those things are just going against the Chiefs this year.
Yeah, and this is the hard part. Dynasties rarely do this. And we've seen a dynasty, obviously, for the last several years. But now, this is almost impossible to fix right now because it's no one thing. Like, if you want to look at what's wrong with the Kansas City Chiefs, to your point, they came into last night -3 of their offensive linemen that they projected would be starting this year. And then they lost Wanye Morris, not the Boyz II Men member, but the actual tackle, in the first series of the game, forcing them then to play the rest of the game with an undrafted free agent at left tackle against this Texans defense, right? So you can't fix that offensive line. But also, you've got a team where, frankly, Mahomes had a couple of throws, even a completion that was down the field for 30, 35 yards that could have been a touchdown if the ball was in the right place. He missed a wide open guy in the end zone that it would have been a touchdown if the ball was in the right place. Like, Mahomes is a little bit off. Then you stack on top of that, Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce, both with key drops. This team had 4 drops last night. They're third in the NFL with 21 drops right now. And when you think about those numbers and the margins, they have made their living the last several years winning the unthinkable ways because they don't make mistakes in the margins. So then let's take all of that together and put it in one big potion bowl for Andy Reid, who calls a wildly aggressive 4th down attempt from his own 31-yard line in a tie game at 10-10 late in the game. And what did we see? We saw a drop. The next 4th down conversion attempt, we saw a drop, right? So players aren't executing. It feels like maybe Reid was pushing by even attempting in those situations. So, Caroline, I'm looking across the board, and part of the reason that you could stick a fork in Kansas City and realize that they're done for this year, not forever, but for this year, is because there are too many little things that are going wrong every single game. You can't fix a bunch of little things easily. You can fix, like, hey, we need this one guy to get back, or we need to get better at this one thing. It's all of these things combined that makes the Chiefs a liability.
100%. And we're seeing them show up in different ways in different games. Like last night, I think we saw Travis Kelce's old. Like, Travis Kelce just doesn't have it like he used to. He is not that same reliable kind of pass catcher. Clearly, when we saw just an ugly drop from him yesterday, that Rashee Rice hasn't come back and, shown the thunder of the gods that I think we all expected him to have coming back into this season. So, look, the Mahomes and the Chiefs' offensive magic just isn't there this season. But if you peel back the layers, you can diagnose why. Because so many of these reliable pass catchers, or these pass catchers in general on this team, they're just not doing what they need to do. They're just not coming to fruition, maybe the way that we expected or the way that they have in the past. And Fitz, last night, I think one thing that is maybe double damning for the Chiefs last night is that Chris Jones had a heck of a game. Like, especially in the second half, in that third quarter, that Chiefs defense made life so difficult for the Houston Texans. But we talk a lot about margins with this Chiefs team because they have been playing in the margins, and the margins went the Texans' way in some of those third and short situations, the 3rd and 3s, the 3rd and 4s, the 3rd and 2s late in that game. The Texans were converting those, and the Chiefs just frankly weren't. To your point, it was drop after drop after drop. Silly drop after drop after drop. Like, if you paused the game and screenshotted it, there was a picture of a ball squarely in the hands of like 4 different Chiefs receivers. And then if you press play back on the game, you saw just a total inexplicable drop. So those margins went the Texans' way, whereas with the Chiefs, it was just mistake after mistake, not converting on third downs. It was just a game the Chiefs had within reach that they let slip away.
But that's maybe the craziest part of this as we move to the Texans side. I will remind everybody, as bad as it was for the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think it was bad last night with their backs up against the wall. That's not what you expect from a dynasty. As bad as it was, this was a tie game in the fourth quarter, right? Like, that's the crazy part about it is in the fourth quarter, I was still sitting saying, the Chiefs are going to figure it out. But they didn't. The Texans did. And the Texans defense reminded us that they are absolutely otherworld elite. I mean, at this point, the way the Texans defense is playing, combined with the fact that C.J. Stroud has played particularly well, I think the last few weeks, we're seeing more productivity from some of their receivers. Like, some of the offense is finding its footing a little bit. The Texans, would you be stunned if the Texans find themselves in the Super Bowl?
The offense concerns me, but the defense, fair to say, best in the NFL. I mean, watching them swarm around last night, making life so difficult for Patrick Mahomes. That secondary is disgusting in the best possible way, and say that as a term of endearment. Would I be surprised if they got to the Super Bowl? With that offense, yes. But who do you trust in the AFC to win 4 consecutive games? Like, maybe it's easy to say the Bills and Josh Allen because they've been there before, but the Bills have been the picture of inconsistency all season long. They zig, they zag, they win, they lose. So I don't know if I can wholeheartedly trust the Bills to win 4 consecutive games. You trust Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos? I mean, I'll apply the same logic to the Texans that I will the Broncos. With that defense, sure. I mean, you can beat anybody in the NFL, but I don't trust Bo Nix to not throw the death pick. I don't trust that offense to consistently patch together 4 consecutive games against 4 of the best teams in the NFL on the path to a Super Bowl. So I don't really know. Same thing with the Patriots. Like, there's value to being there before, and this iteration of the Patriots has not been there before. So I don't really know if I trust anyone in the AFC to win 4 consecutive games, including the Texans. So with that, I say, why not the Texans? I could also say, why not the Bills and why not the Patriots? But this AFC is so incredibly wide open that I have to say, sure, to any of these teams. Why not any of these teams? Because someone's going to have to win 4 consecutive games. Like, someone's going to have to get to the Super Bowl from the AFC.
And that's why I think my answer to this is yes. I'd be shocked if the Texans get there. But I think, to your point, I'd be shocked by a lot of teams. Like, if we're being honest right now, let's remember the way we're talking about the Texans, they split the season series with the Jags, including a miraculous comeback that got them the win in the second game. The Jags are a game better right now. So I guess my question for anyone that says it's easy to say that the Texans are a Super Bowl team, are we willing to say that about the Jags? Because I think it feels a little weird. It just feels weird. You know I love proof of concepts. And so I can at least hang my hat, even though I don't trust Bo Nix. I trust Sean Payton, and I trust the Broncos defense. I could try to find something to trust. But you're also very right that there is virtually nothing that you can't trust from proof of concept about the Patriots. Certainly nothing from proof of concept about Bo Nix. We don't know what this iteration of Denver looks like in a deep playoff run. We have no idea. You can keep going to the Jags on this list. So you're 100% right. It gets tough for me because frankly, the next touchdown that C.J. Stroud throws in the divisional round of the playoffs will be the first touchdown he's thrown in the divisional round of the playoffs. Like, we have literally no idea what Stroud and D'Amico are going to look like, what this team is going to look like in the playoffs. And it's really rare. It's been years since a team made their first ever Super Bowl appearance. So the fact that the Texans have never done it, much like every time the Lions try to go on a run, people say, wow, the Lions have never been there. Same logic for the Texans. So would I be shocked? Yeah, but I'd be shocked by most of the AFC making the Super Bowl. From the Texans to the Colts, let's stay in the AFC South. Big news came out of the Jags win. Speaking of the Jags, they get a massive win over the Colts, but importantly here, Daniel Jones will undergo surgery. He tore his Achilles, non-contact. We've seen this a million times. Standing there, pushes off, immediately crumples to the ground. And this just feels like a suffocating moment for the team, for the player, remembering that he signed a 1-year, $14 million deal. So this offseason, he was in line to get another bag, and the Colts were in line to likely reward him with some sort of a contract to make him the quarterback for the next several years. Everything now becomes cloudy for the Colts.
I hate this so much for Colts fans who have experienced a lot of just heartbreak over so many years. The Colts haven't won this division. This is a crap division. The Colts haven't won it since 2014. The Colts haven't won the division since Chris Ballard took over, and this felt like the year. The team that was at 8-1, that had a stronghold on the AFC, the team that just felt like it was the team of destiny this year. So I hate that for so many Colts fans that felt like this year was different, and now they may even miss out on the playoffs. They probably will miss out in the postseason, honestly. I hate this for Daniel Jones. He looked so pissed off and so frustrated when he was laying on the field last night, and it was hard to watch. And I hate that for him, a guy who has had a career renaissance this year. We all left Daniel Jones for dead, and he proved to us in the first 7-8 weeks of the season why we shouldn't have done that. So I hate to see him suffer yet another setback. But also, Fitz, I hate this for the future of the Indianapolis Colts. They traded 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner. They hitched their wagon to Daniel Jones for the next several years, because you don't make a trade like that if you think that you're going to be vying for a quarterback in the next year's draft or the year after that. That's the kind of move you make when you say, we're going for it this year and for the years in the future. So that leaves a question at the quarterback position. What do you do when you don't have your next 2 first-round picks? You can't draft a quarterback. So I hate that for that. And also, I wasn't in favor of the trade to begin with. I don't think that you should trade 2 first-round picks for a corner. No disrespect to the cornerback position. I don't think any cornerback in the league, maybe Pat Surtain, maybe is worth 2 first-round picks. And that's what they traded away for Sauce Gardner. And now they've dug their heels into the Sauce Gardner of it all. They've dug their heels into this current construction of the roster. So where do the Colts go from here? Not only do I think that they're going to struggle down the stretch, frankly, Fitz, I think the Colts are going to kind of be in average at best, mucky middle at best for the foreseeable future. Because if you don't have picks, how do you get yourself out of this?
Yeah, and this is where, to your point, they decided to be aggressive, which is what we usually want. But now what? Because there's a couple of misses here. Number one, they miss out on the future. Let's just be clear. Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins both came back from Achilles injuries, much older than Daniel Jones, but also they rely less on their legs as part of their game. And it still took a minute for them to get back. So they're going to have to figure out what they're doing at the quarterback position. But also they chose not to figure out what they were doing at the quarterback position just in case this year. Riley Leonard is going to be the starting quarterback for the rest of the season for the Indianapolis Colts. Think about that. They're about to go to Seattle. Then they take on the 49ers, the Jags, and the Texans. The Colts with Riley Leonard will be, presumably, they will lose every game remaining, which means they are on pace to end this season on a 7-game losing streak. Every single good feel you had goes out the window. This is why I consistently say, hey, GMs, you have got to have a solid plan at what you're doing for the backup quarterback position. Always. You have to have a plan that puts you in one snap away. We hear it all the time. You cannot be in a window where you have a shot at the playoffs and suddenly looking at Riley Leonard saying, we'll coach him up, we'll get him ready. This is a big win for the Jags, so I don't want to take anything away from that. I should know for anyone that didn't watch the game. The Jags were clearly in control of this football game before Daniel Jones got hurt. So I don't want to take away from Jacksonville, who is in first place. We're enamored with the Texans. The Jags are in first place in the AFC South. The Jags are playing good football right now. The Jags, according to BetMGM, would be the favorite to win the division. So there's plenty of Jacksonville Jag love to come. I promise you that. All right. We'll keep breaking it down. We got a lot of NFL Sunday to get to, but coming up next, controversy everywhere Sunday that had nothing to do with the NFL and everything to do with what is now officially the worst college football committee ever. We'll tell you about it next. College football, the product is amazing. The system is without question broken. Two things can be true at the same time. That is the sentiment of many fans that watched the College Football Playoff Committee announce their selections for the college football playoffs on Sunday, and it was not without controversy because for the first time in this entire rankings process, even though we've been hearing rankings since around Halloween, we had a flip-flop. Suddenly there was a change in the rankings, and Miami, with a head-to-head win over Notre Dame, launched above Notre Dame. Quickly, I want to just make sure that everyone is aware. Hunter Yurachek is the committee chair, and Hunter Yurachek came out very clearly, Caroline, and said that the reason that it changed now, we may not like this logic, but this is what he said. According to the College Football Playoff Committee, number one, they were not willing to penalize Alabama for losing in a conference championship game. We may not agree with that, but that was their logic. Number two, they moved Miami ahead of Notre Dame for the first time because according to the committee chair, it's the first time Miami and Notre Dame were discussed head-to-head. Every other time there's been a third team involved in the conversation. So when it was Miami, BYU, and Notre Dame, because they were looking at three teams, not two, they used different criteria. So even though every week Hunter Yurachek sat in front of the mic and said, we don't care about the head-to-head, we just believe that Notre Dame is better, this week he said the committee for the first time looked at Miami v. Notre Dame head-to-head, and because it was just those two teams being discussed, Miami got the advantage. That flip-flop leaves Notre Dame out of the college football playoff, which has absolute chaos. So the question is, how do we fix this, Caroline? Like, what is the real solution?
My first solution is, and I'll stick on Miami and Notre Dame. That's fishy from the committee. That's you can tell me all day long that that's your rationale, but that rationale makes absolutely positively no sense whatsoever. Head to head has to matter. These two teams played head to head. Sure, it was early in the season, but we don't have a preseason in college football. Week 1 and week 2, those are regular season games. Those games absolutely positively have to matter. So Miami beat Notre Dame head to head. I have no problem with the committee correcting course throughout the course of, the month plus that we get these college football playoff rankings like they did with Alabama. At one point, now Alabama was behind Notre Dame for several weeks, and then after Alabama beat a terrible Auburn team by one score, they leapfrogged Alabama over Notre Dame. Now, I didn't agree with the rationale at the time that, Alabama at one point had a 3-score lead over a rival team. Doesn't make sense to me, but I also didn't disagree with Alabama being above Notre Dame because I thought at that point Alabama was a more deserving and a better football team. So I have no issue with the College Football Playoff Committee saying, hey, look, we messed up, we flubbed, we probably, we should have flip-flopped these teams to begin with and we didn't, so we'll do it now. No issue with that. But to flip-flop Miami and Notre Dame in the final rankings after Miami has been behind Notre Dame in every single ranking over the last 2 months, that's weird and that's strange. And I think that sends a very dangerous message from the College Football Playoff Committee. The second way I would fix this, the system is so broken. If JMU, no disrespect to JMU, but if JMU is competing for a national championship and BYU and Notre Dame and Texas and Vanderbilt are sitting on their couches, this system is entirely broken. So they need to get rid of automatic qualifiers in its entirety. If you're a conference champion, you'll probably find your way in on merit alone. But if you're Duke and you're a 7-5 conference champion, you're not going to find yourself in the postseason because you don't deserve to be in the postseason. A 7-5 team won't and shouldn't compete for a national championship. What they should do is put the best teams in. And I've heard a lot of rationale for, okay, well, with this 12-team playoff with Notre Dame and BYU and Texas and Vandy getting shafted, they have to expand the playoff. No, expanding the playoff after this season is like having a baby to save your marriage. Like expanding it doesn't actually address the root of the issue. The root of the issue is we just flat out have the wrong teams. So before we expand, before we go from 12 to 16 and then inevitably like 32 or 50 at some point within this postseason play in college football, how about we first get the right teams in? How about we first put the teams that most deserve and most look like teams that can win a national championship? Because you can't tell me that Tulane, a team that got blown out against Ole Miss earlier in the season, deserves to compete for a national championship. Same thing with JMU. We need to get the right teams in. We shouldn't get teams in there just because they won their conference championship games. And this is not an anti-G5 sentiment. Boise State earned their way into the college football playoff last year. Cincinnati, before they joined the Big 12, earned their way into a 4-team playoff several years ago. There's a path for the group of 5. They just have to earn it themselves.
You said earlier, no disrespect to James Madison. And I've heard everybody say no disrespect, no disrespect. Why? Let's just be disrespectful for a second. The point is to get the 12 best teams. The 12 best teams. Now, I've said for years, I don't care where they come from. I don't care if they're all from one conference. I don't care if they're from 2 conferences. Yeah. I don't care if they're all group of 5 one year. I just want the 12 best. There is not a world where this year we have the 12 best teams in the college football playoff. So the very people, as a society, typically college football fans, the very people that are sitting here screaming they don't want participation awards are the people that are telling me we should have participation awards. That's what ultimately this is. Letting JMU and Tulane into this thing at the end of the day is disrespectful to the entire college football playoff process. The fact is they're not as good. And why is it that this is the one sport, the one way that we have to say, and I know many of my peers, my friends don't agree with this. I get it. But why are we always saying, well, you got to make sure the little guy has a chance at sitting at the table? Why? We don't do that in any other industry. We don't do that in any other meritocracy for sure. If you get in, you earn your way in. So if they simply got rid of anything being automatic, that would fix all of this, because now conference championship games are just another note. They're not an automatic play, and they can actually count. We saw Alabama lose and become the first team in 3 years that has lost their conference championship game that wasn't penalized, and the committee says they don't want to penalize them. Okay, what you're saying is that conference championship games are basically irrelevant. Duke won theirs, didn't get in. Alabama lost theirs, didn't drop. Okay, how do we make them relevant? Again, Get rid of anything being automatic. Make this entire process about simply, especially with the committee, let the committee pick the 12 best. There isn't a world that's good for college football that looks at James Madison or looks at Tulane and says, yeah, you know what? Y'all are better than Texas this year. Oh, you're better than Notre Dame. Notre Dame had a real shot, in my mind, at winning the national championship game. And for every single person that stands up and screams, well, if Notre Dame wants to get in, join a conference. My answer to that is, for what? For what? Because that would have helped them this year? I mean, ultimately, this automatic qualifying process with conferences, they're still going to cherry pick the teams they want, and they're going to force teams in, and none of it makes sense.
Just get the best teams in. And I have been teetering mentally on, do I want all automatic qualifiers or none at all? Because the model about the all automatic qualifiers that I actually liked was it eliminates the college football playoff committee. I think there is value in having human nuance involved in the process. Like we saw with Florida State a couple of years ago when they were 13-0, they were on the outside looking in at the 4-team college football playoff. I disagreed with that, but the committee said, hey, look, you are not the team now that you were. So we don't think that you were good enough to compete for a national championship. I disagreed with it, but I understood that rationale. But it's the same kind of human rationale that's leaving Notre Dame at home after this entire process told us that Notre Dame was a quote-unquote better team or quote-unquote more deserving team than Miami was. I don't mind getting rid of the committee process in its entirety. I always struggle with applying NFL rationale to college football because what the NFL has that college football doesn't is as close to a standardization of scheduling as possible. We don't have that in college football. So it's like apples to oranges to compare a team that has the number 1 strength of schedule versus the 145th ranked strength of schedule. But I taking human nuance out of it, I think is a positive thing for the process because we don't have human nuance in the NFL. But also at the same time, it's like I want all or nothing. I either want all automatic qualifiers or none at all. Because automatic qualifiers have JMU and Tulane in the college football playoff and teams that can actually make a run and create much more intriguing matchups are going to be sitting at home. Like, frankly, Fitz, I'm a college football homer. I love college football. It's my favorite sport in the world. I don't really have any interest in watching Oregon JMU. I don't really have any interest in watching Ole Miss Tulane because, like, I saw that game in the regular season. It wasn't all that interesting in September or October, whenever that game was being played.
Caroline, the college football schedule makers told everybody they know that. The 2 games that they scheduled against the NFL, if you look at the playoffs, there's a Friday night matchup that's Alabama. Of course, there's nothing in the way of that Alabama matchup, right? There's a Saturday afternoon matchup with 2 big old brands. And then what did they do with the 2 group of 5 teams? They put them on Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening directly against already scheduled NFL games that they know they're going to get their asses kicked on. The college football schedule makers told everybody, we don't want you to watch these bludgeonings. We know you won't. You'll watch the NFL. Don't worry. Catch us next week when we get back to what we're supposed to have.
Yeah, I mean, they acknowledge it. Everybody knows it. But also, the process is so flawed. And I understand this is football and, life isn't fair. But if I'm Texas A&M or Oklahoma, I'm pissed about this. Because Texas A&M and Oklahoma are going to be playing actual legitimate opponents. Like Texas A&M is playing Miami. Oklahoma is going to be playing Alabama. Those 2 teams earned a first-round bye, and they get those games, which are going to be awesome games that I'm very excited for. Not a first-round bye, excuse me, a home game in the college football playoff. I'm excited for those matchups. While Oregon gets JMU and Ole Miss gets Tulane. Are you kidding me? Like, I know that any draw that you're going to get in the postseason is not always going to be equal. There's always going to be one team that has a more difficult path than the rest of the field and vice versa. There's always going to be one team that gets an easier path. I understand that. But this is like cupcake week in college football versus rivalry week in college football. The draw is everything, and I think Oklahoma and Texas A&M are already standing at a massive disadvantage before the pads have even been popped because of the luck, frankly, that they've gotten in some of these matchups.
There was tons of fallout from it. Stephen Godfrey going to join us next hour. We'll get his thoughts on some of the fallout from Notre Dame because the conversation is not done. But coming up next, the conversation is not done about the AFC North. We had 2 equally surprising results for very different reasons. We'll tell you about them next. Shannon Sharp tweets out, Browns removing Shedeur constantly on goal-to-go situations and going Wildcat needs to be studied. Played his butt off in the most important snap. He's on the sideline. That's bull jive. That's Shannon Sharp's thoughts, because part of the controversy from yesterday was not just that the Cleveland Browns shockingly lost to the Tennessee Titans. That was tough enough, I think, for Browns fans to watch. But with the game on the line and a 2-point attempt conversion there to be had, Shedeur was not on the field. Caroline, what do you make of it?
I thought that was so dumb. I thought that was inexplicable. I thought that was a clear overthinking it, not getting a good feel for the game kind of move from Kevin Stefanski, because Shedeur had an awesome game yesterday. Like, he had a career day, in a short career, albeit, but still a career day. He was doing the things that we've been wanting to see from Shedeur Sanders. So after he's thrown for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he has scratched and clawed themselves back into this game, Kevin Stefanski doesn't give him the opportunity to finish it. After Shedeur is having an absolutely awesome game, Kevin Stefanski's like, no. We're going to go in the lineup in the Wildcat position, and we're just going to have Quinshon Judkins run around and look totally and completely clueless, and we're going to blow this game. Like, it didn't make any sense to me. Have a good feel for the game. Your quarterback's been playing well. Keep your quarterback in. Give him the opportunity to close out what he already started.
I feel you, and I respect you so much in your opinion on it. And I'm saying that because I completely disagree, but you are in the majority. So let me just go back to square one with all of this, all right? Number one, full stop, it was a great game by Shedeur. I thought Shedeur was absolutely electric.
Great game.
Number two, totally separate from all of that. Since Shedeur Sanders became the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, no team in the NFL has run more Wildcat than Cleveland has. In fact, if you look back, and I was obviously, as a Raiders fan, I watched every snap of the Raiders-Browns game. That was the first snap for him. And that's where I first saw all of this, and that's why I started researching it. If you look at it, there have been 4 touchdowns scored in the NFL this year from Wildcat positions in goal-to-goal situations. 2 of those belong to the Cleveland Browns. In fact, if you go all the way back, just look at this game. In this game, the 2-point conversion we're not talking about was the 2-point conversion before this one. On the previous touchdown, the Browns scored and went for 2. Shedeur Sanders did not get the snap. So now you're looking at a young quarterback, and you're looking at an offense that has comfort in the Wildcat, and you're asking yourself, what makes us the most comfortable? In fact, how big is the Wildcat for the Cleveland Browns offense? Their offensive coordinator was asked about it last week, long before this game, at the podium, and he said, and I quote, obviously, we've had a lot of success here in a sample size of games. We've scored 4 touchdowns and had productive runs in the package. It's kind of a Wildcat, one you can use in run-heavy situations, and Judkins executes it incredibly well. Those all have to be context clues to what they were doing. They gave the ball to Judkins. Judkins mismanaged the play. Yes, that is all very true, but it's revisionist history to sit here and look at it and say, why was Shedeur not on the field? Shedeur, in goal-to-go situations, short-yardage situations, and 2-point conversion situations, since he's become the starter, hasn't always been on the field. Probably in part because he doesn't have a ton of reps in those situations yet. As a very young quarterback that we've already well chronicled, didn't get a lot of first-team reps, didn't get any first-team reps. So now, in the limited number of reps that you have every week with the starting quarterback that you're trying to bring along slowly, you need to work on the entirety of the game plan. How many 2-point conversion plays have they repped enough that Shedeur is wildly comfortable with them? How many 2-point conversion plays in 3 weeks have they put into the arsenal that they feel are absolutely gold and secure? And they tried one on the previous touchdown, or 2-point conversion, and it didn't work with Shedeur at center. So when they need one play, they go back to something that they're running more successfully than anybody right now, something that's resulted in touchdowns. And one more big point here. In week 13, the last game that the Browns played, they scored a touchdown and went for 2. How did they successfully convert the 2-point conversion? With Quinshon Judkins in the Wildcat. And not a single person cared. If you look at the metrics of the way the Browns have played for 3 consecutive weeks, the Wildcat is not a trick play. It's not a cute play. It's a standard formation that they run out of in these situations. I do not have any problem with the coach using something that they feel confident about in that situation, a play they feel like they can execute, and they tried to do something different out of the same formation. it didn't work. And I know it didn't work, but this doesn't have to be a memorandum on Kevin Stefanski. It doesn't have to be a memorandum on Shedeur. It can just be how the Browns have been doing business. And I don't think the play call was a bad one.
I always try to hold myself accountable whenever I'm critiquing decisions like that and say, well, did I not like it just because it didn't like it just because I didn't like it? Like, even if it worked, would I still hate it? And I asked myself that question here. And I said, yes, even if it worked, even if the Browns got the 2-point conversion, I still wouldn't have liked the Browns taking Shedeur off the field in that situation because I hear you. That Wildcat has been such a mainstay in the Browns playbook this season. But that's also largely because the Browns probably haven't trusted their quarterbacks in a whole lot of situations in games this season. Shedeur was having a good game. And I think that's the kind of in-game feel and in-game adjustments that Kevin Stefanski has to make. The kind of tactical feeling that you have to have for the way that a game is going to say, you know what? A lot of our 2-point plays involve Wildcat. You know what? Wildcat has been awfully successful for us, but we are going to put the ball in the hands of Shedeur. Even if the Browns didn't put the ball in the hands of Shedeur, let's say they called, just a handoff to Quinshon Judkins or Dylan Sampson, they just wanted to run it up the middle. I still would have liked that better because at least Shedeur is on the field. At least there's a threat of a pass play. At least you're going to force the Titans defense to guess what you're going to do. When you take Shedeur off the field, what you're doing is saying, hey, defense, we're either going to run it or we're going to do something kind of gadgety and kind of gimmicky, and we're going to have our running back take the direct snap. It didn't make any sense to me. I hear you. I understand it. And sometimes you have to ride the pony that got you there. But if we just look in the context of this game, the pony that got them there was Shedeur Sanders.
Well, I will still go back to the reason they needed a 2-point conversion in that situation is because they failed a 2-point conversion with Shedeur at quarterback on the prior touchdown. Yes, he was having a great game. It's just, this feels to me like what we do. It's just not we, you and I, but we as a society. Everything becomes an indictment on Stefanski and an indictment on Shedeur. I think they were doing what they genuinely thought would help them win the game, and I don't have a huge problem with it. Now, that wasn't the only big outcome from the AFC North, obviously, because we've been waiting to leave the Steelers for dead, and they again said, I'm not dead yet, and maybe in the process destroyed the season of the Baltimore Ravens. Now Pittsburgh sits ahead, one game ahead of Baltimore in a game that, and the Ravens just felt disjointed, Caroline. It just, the number of times I watched a bad interception by Lamar, late fourth quarter drive with the chance to try and win the game, Lamar holding the ball for a long time, nobody getting open, clock management was bad. The Ravens did everything the wrong way in a game where the Steelers came out and really fought back in this. I have a lot of respect for the way Pittsburgh won it, and the Ravens are broken.
The Ravens are broken, but also the Steelers are broken too. And the Steelers are probably going to win this division, and the Steelers are probably going to make the playoffs. Like, how gross is that? Like, the Steelers are not a good football team. I don't have any sort of belief in the Steelers, but they're going to win the division more than likely. I know that statistically the Bengals are still alive, and I am holding out hope that we can at least see Joe Burrow in the postseason rather than this version of Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers, but like, I know I talked a lot about Mike Tomlin. We had Joey Molinaro on last week, who was awesome. You can find his full breakdown on the Yahoo Sports YouTube page. And he was adamant about the Steelers moving on from Mike Tomlin because it's just gotten stale. It's just felt like it's run its course. And there might be a lot of people saying, well, if the Steelers win the division and make the playoffs, you can't fire Mike Tomlin. And to that, I say, why not? Because this is just the same that we've gotten every single year from the Steelers. You barely squeak into the postseason, and then you get obliterated in the wild card round by a team that's an actual Super Bowl contender. Like, it is just same stuff, different year from the Steelers. And I know, Fitz, like, you are a fan of one team. There are so many fans of bad teams in the NFL that would hope and pray and relish in the opportunity to get beaten in the postseason. Because if you get beaten in the postseason, that means you make the postseason. But when you do that over and over and over and over and over again, it gets old. It gets stale. So I almost, in a way, like, kind of feel bad for Steelers fans if they keep winning some of these games, because I don't think they want to be in that position again.
If the playoffs started today, they'd be taking on the Bills. So tell me how we think that would go. The other big result in there, Cincinnati, speaking of the Bills, Cincinnati had them on the ropes. I thought the Cincinnati Bengals were going to do the unthinkable. I thought the Cincinnati Bengals were going to keep their season alive with the big win against Buffalo in the snow. And then Josh Allen just reached through the TV screen and slapped me in the face and called me stupid. Josh Allen with a couple of runs that were absolutely electric. The Bills found a way, even on a game where James Cook had another just I can't understand it fumble moment. Like, it's just not a great game from guys that I thought had to be great. Somehow, some way, as you watch this thing unfold, the Bills found a way to win. Josh Allen found a way to do what Josh Allen does. And I'm sitting here thinking, look, to me, clearly from the eye test, the Bengals are the best team in the AFC North. They're going to be left out of this thing, and the Bills are reminding us they are not dead.
Yeah, the Bengals right now today have a 3% chance of making the postseason. Oof. But they still have 2 divisional matchups. They have the Ravens next week, and then Dolphins, Cardinals, and then the Browns as they round out the season. Those are all games that the Bengals can win. So, the Bengals are still in this thing. Obviously, a loss to the Bills makes that much more difficult and makes that uphill climb that much more intimidating. But the Bengals have 4-9. Like, they're not totally and completely dead. But yeah, that was a reminder that Josh Allen, he's got a whole lot of razzle-dazzle left into him, that this is going to be the Josh Allen show. The Bills, we know this. The Bills ebb and flow as Josh Allen ebbs and flows, but the Bills are going to win a Super Bowl or fall short of a Super Bowl because of what Josh Allen does. I mean, Josh Allen is just an absolute monster, and also the 2 picks from Joe Burrow. Oof.
Yeah, at the same time,
Oof.
I've never wanted an 8-9 team in the playoffs more than I want Cincinnati to win out and find a way in. I just want to see them in the playoffs.
I know.
It's been too much fun. All right, we'll keep breaking down some of the NFL news you've got to know out there, including some storylines that maybe you weren't paying enough attention to. You might have missed them. Quietly a big deal, including that man, Jayden Daniels, and what the Commanders may or may not have done with him. The way the Commanders always rush Jayden Daniels back to the field after an injury is Dan Snyder-like. You got to protect a player from himself, especially when the season is over. That is a strong sentiment because Jayden Daniels fell and injured that elbow again, at least left the field. He did not come back in the game, although Washington did say that they could have put him back in the game. They chose not to, and what was painful to watch for everybody, for a Commanders team that just looked disjointed and, frankly, bad. So, Caroline, are the Commanders mishandling Jayden Daniels?
Yes. Yes, there was no reason for Jayden Daniels to be in that game. The Commander season is done. Like, sure, yesterday there was a statistical chance that the Commanders could have backdoored their way into the postseason, but does anyone believe that that was real? Was the chance high enough, and was it enough to justify risking Jayden Daniels yet again, including yesterday? Jayden Daniels has played in 7 games this year, Fitz. He has been so banged up. He keeps getting sidelined for injury after injury after injury. Jayden Daniels is the future of the Commanders organization. So I thought it was a total mismanagement of the future of your organization, putting him back out there when the season is done. And look, I'm not in favor of just, oh, you're losing, your season's over, bench everybody, fire everybody, move on from everybody. That's not what I'm saying. Jayden Daniels is injury prone. The Commanders season has gone off the rails because Jayden Daniels hasn't been healthy. So understanding that context and understanding when Jayden Daniels is healthy, the Commanders find themselves in the NFC Championship game. And when he's not, they're going to Cancun. Understanding that, I think it has to add nuance to how you approach your quarterback in late games in the season. I thought it was just absolutely ridiculous that Jayden Daniels was put out there yet again, risking injury yet again, when they didn't really need to. They had no business putting Jayden Daniels out there.
To me, this is much like what we said around Joe Burrow. And I learned something in that process because you and I both said, why put Burrow back in? And then I watched every reporter ask Burrow, why are you back in? And his answer sort of incredulously was, I'm a quarterback in the NFL. I get paid a fortune to play a kid's game. I want to play. I've worked my whole life to play. My teammates need me, and this is what I do. That's paraphrasing Joe Burrow's sentiment. But the reality of it is I immediately apply that process and that logic to Jayden Daniels. To me, just because he's injury prone, look, if he's not cleared to play, don't play him. If the doctors say I wouldn't play him, don't play him. If he's cleared, what message do you send to the rest of your organization if you just choose to keep your quarterback out because he's injury prone? I mean, we don't see that across the board. This is the time of year where everybody says shut players down, but we also are coming off a weekend where the Saints won and the Titans won because, frankly, teams don't tank. Players don't quit. They have a limited amount of time to play for this league. They have a limited amount of time to play this game, and they want to get out there and play. Plus, on top of all of that, one thing that I'll take from Mike Tannenbaum at ESPN, who loudly said, Jayden Daniels needs to be on the field to learn how to protect himself. At some point, the way you learn to do that is by getting out there. So I think the message you send to the locker room when you still do have a sliver's chance of the playoffs, when a guy's been medically cleared, when he is the face of your franchise, when he's a young quarterback, and young quarterbacks still need reps. They still need the opportunity to grow. They still need the chance to learn. Why would you put yourself in a situation where from the minute you walk out, you tell every single person that's in that locker room, we're not really trying to win anymore? Like, that doesn't work. Coaches don't do it. Players don't do it. GMs don't do it. Franchises don't do it. If you're cleared to play, go out and play. And I hear you that, like, it doesn't make any sense because because he is injury prone. But if he's injury prone, he's injury prone. You can get hurt in practice too, but does that mean that you don't let him practice? Does that mean that you're keeping him away from the facility altogether? You're going to shut him down, not let him get in the weight room? Like, where's the line on it? So to me, if you've got a young quarterback that is capable of playing, knowing that every rep counts and every quarterback will tell you that, you got to play him. So I have no problem with it. I understand where you're coming from for them.
You don't play football scared. You also don't play football stupid. And when you're a coach or a GM, you kind of have to walk that line because sometimes not playing football scared and playing football stupid might look like something very, very similar. And I hear you that, look, if he's clear to play, then play. But I've seen a lot of smart people and analysts and pro football doc kind of people say, look, that's a really large load for a recently sprained joint to take on. So when you are injury prone, yes, you're injury prone, but when you're less than 100%, it's much easier to fall close or fall further and further away from 100%. Like, just let him get 100% healthy because, yes, when you're injury prone, you're injury prone. But when you're injured, there's a higher likelihood of staying injured or getting re-injured. Just let him get 100% healthy. Because what kind of a message does it send to the locker room when you continue to trot out a less than 100% Jayden Daniels? What kind of a message does it send to the locker room when knock on wood, Jayden Daniels is out for the next 8 months because he suffered yet another injury in a game that really doesn't have, any sort of weight or really doesn't matter at all. So I hear you. I know that Jayden Daniels is a competitor and he wants to go out there and he wants to play. And I hear you that he needs to learn how to protect himself. But I think your job as a coach and your job as an organization is also to protect a quarterback from himself. So no, he needs to learn how to slide. He needs to learn how to get out of bounds. He needs to learn how to protect himself. I hear you on that. But when Jayden Daniels says, put me out there, I want to play, your job as an organization is to say, I hear you. We appreciate your competitiveness. We can't let you do that because it's not smart for you and it's not smart for this organization.
Now, that wasn't the only storyline you might not have seen from some of the games out there that you weren't paying attention to. Another one came from a form of another quarterback, Tyler Shuck. The Saints upset the Bucks. I mentioned earlier, the Saints not tanking. They get an upset that drastically changes the way the top of the draft looks like that. And in the process, Shuck plays really well. A lot of highlights of the touchdown run that he had where it looked like he was certainly sacked, pulls his way out of it and finds a way around the edge to get a big touchdown. Shuck has quietly played much better as this season's wore on. And this is where Carolina, I'm reminded that even though he's 26 years old and even though I didn't like the draft pick, he was a second-round pick. Like the Saints invested equity to see if they have their guy. Is there a shot in your mind that Shuck plays well enough that maybe the Saints don't think they need to take a quarterback at the top of the draft coming up?
Maybe. Oh, it feels gross saying it, but I think what the Saints did yesterday, or what Tyler Shuck showed us yesterday, is now maybe the Saints have the privilege of taking the best player available in the draft, whether that's a receiver, whether that's a defensive player, whatever it might be. And I don't hate that approach of sticking with a quarterback that's probably not your future franchise quarterback face of the organization, but you use really valuable draft capital, which the Saints are going to have, on just drafting really good players, on not forcing it, on not swinging on a quarterback that you're not 100% certain on, but swinging on players that you do feel pretty close to 100% certain on. And the Saints aren't going to have the number 1 overall pick. That looks like it may be the Titans pick. It could be the Raiders, but I feel like right now the Saints may just be winning too much to get that number 1 overall pick, and it is crowded at the bottom in the NFL. So I don't think the Saints should be in a position where they trade draft capital to move up in the draft unless there is a Fernando Mendoza that they've just absolutely fallen head over heels in love with and says, we absolutely have to get that guy under any circumstances. But what Tyler Shuck has done has played the Saints into a position, maybe perhaps, that they don't have to take a quarterback in this year's draft. They can wait to find that franchise quarterback in seasons future.
It allows the Saints at least to trust their scouting process. By this process, because Shuck has played pretty well, now if they love a quarterback at the top of the draft, depending on who declares, then great, take one. And if you don't reach for one. Go best player available for a roster that needs help all over the place. One other storyline you might have missed from teams that you aren't paying attention to, but should be, the Miami Dolphins are on a heater, all right? I mean, a heater. They win their 4th straight, and boy, I mean, they just demolished the Jets. I realize that you don't get to, take a lot of victory laps for that, but do we owe the Dolphins a little apology here?
I owe the Dolphins an apology. I owe Mike McDaniel an apology. I said fire everybody, trade everybody, move on from everybody, pull that thing down to the absolute studs and rebuild. Embrace the suck for the next several years. Now, they did make moves at the trade deadline. They did fire their general manager, Chris Greer. But since then, the Dolphins have been doing a whole lot of winning. And it's not easy to do when you're a head coach in the NFL, when players in the locker room look around and saying, oh, like we're totally selling at the deadline. Like, we are acknowledging that we're not a very good football team. It's hard to keep things on the straight and narrow. It's hard to keep that train on the tracks. That's exactly what Mike McDaniel's been doing. So a few weeks ago, I was saying fire everybody, move on from everybody, tear this thing down. There's a very high likelihood, and I think there should be a very high likelihood that both Tua and Mike McDaniel are back next season for the Dolphins.
I mean, look at their remaining schedule. They got the Steelers, the Bengals, the Bucks, and the Patriots. There's some difficult games there, but certainly as they continue to win, you got to look at this and say they've at least given McDaniel, Tua, they've at least given enough to the Dolphins ownership to at least make everybody press pause on the need for immediate change. The way we were talking about them a few weeks ago, McDaniel might not even survive the season. It was, is he getting fired this week? For them to be where they are right now, in part because of Tua, in part because Devon Achane. I do want to say, I don't think Tua is necessarily the reason that they're winning these games, but they are winning these games. And so, again, sometimes going into each season, it's about being able to sort of trust your board and figure out where you can upgrade and how you can upgrade. I'm not sure that there's going to be an immediate upgrade at the quarterback position somewhere available for the Dolphins going into next season. So if Tua plays well enough that everything is run back next year, I also don't think that's the worst. Like, the worst thing you can do is reach for a quarterback that isn't good enough. The worst thing you can do is pay for a quarterback that isn't good enough. And maybe the Dolphins have already done part of that. But if they can just get mid-level play out of Tua, I think that will absolutely help them, Caroline.
To your point, it's not because of Tua, but a win is a win. And I don't think the Dolphins make the postseason. But the fact that we can even talk about, hey, the Dolphins, backdooring themselves into the postseason, I think is indicative of this late season surge. So credit to this team for that. It's not because of Tua, but they're winning games with Tua. And the cap hit that it would take to move on from Tua would be devastating. So if you're saying, hey, we don't want to go into cap hell, we're still winning games, is Tua the next 5 years of our future of this organization? No. But based off of what we've seen the last 4 to 5 games, can we deal with it just to not put ourselves into a total hole cap-wise? I think you can talk yourself into that.
100%. And look, there's still a shot here for the Dolphins when you look at the standings. They still have a way to work themselves into the playoffs. They're at 6-7 right now. Obviously, the Texans at 8-5 right now would be the 7th seed. So a lot of work to do. Most likely, again, with that remaining schedule, they're most likely out of this thing. But if the Dolphins, after the miserable start they had to the season, if the Dolphins wake up at the end of the year and they found themselves to 9-8, that might be just good enough to have everybody thinking about how to run it back. There's the playoff picture for you. Should be noted, Denver is the 1 seed over New England thanks to a tiebreaker in common opponents. The Patriots can thank the Raiders for that because the Patriots lost to the Raiders. Denver is the 1 seed. New England is the 2 seed. But when you start to look at it, Miami, Baltimore, Kansas City, they're all still sitting there in the hunt with their opportunity to get into the playoffs. We got a lot to break down in hour number 2. We'll keep it coming at you. Coming up next, she's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz. Yahoo Sports Daily is just getting started. James Harden shouts out fellow active top 10 NBA scorers LeBron and Kevin Durant. That from Law Murray. Law joins us now. The Law, this tweet showing exactly the love and respect that we got here. We love having Law on. Covers the NBA at the Athletic. Harden joined the NBA's top all 10, top. I'm going to learn how to speak. Top 10. I'll get this, Law. Top 10 all-time scorers. There we go. Joining LeBron and KD as active players in that exclusive club. So he's like the one bright spot for the Clippers this year. So what are the odds that Harden gets dealt soon? We keep talking about it every day on this show, I feel like.
That's funny. It's like, man, what a bright spot James Harden's been. Let's see where he could go next. J James obviously has a history of being in playoffs, not being in the playing tournament, and more specifically to this Clippers team, not being in situations where he sees it declining sharply and he gets the heck out of it. You've seen before when he left OKC, like OKC never made it back to the finals until last year. He leaves Houston, they go on a 3-year run of the worst team in the league. Leaves Brooklyn, you see where they're at now. Leaves Philly, you saw Philly last year. You see the Sixers or the Clippers this year. I would say that because he and Kawhi are healthy, I think those talks are not happening right now. But uh, it only takes like I don't know another stretch of losing 15 out of 20 games, which is what they started this year with, to have reality set in and say like you're playing this well and you don't only have so much time, and those talks could happen. I would say MLK weekend. So I anticipate James being on the Clippers with Kawhi and helping them trying to turn this thing around as guys get healthier. But if they are like 20 games under 500, then I do think that both sides would mutually agree to look and see how to make the most out of a horrible situation.
I mean, you said it's a bad situation. The Clippers are 6-18. They've lost 7 of their last 8. And you pointed out on Twitter that the Clippers in quote unquote clutch time are 2-9, tied for the worst record in the league, tied with the Pelicans. And anytime you're tied with the Pelicans for anything, you know it's probably not great. So, how safe is Ty Lue's job security, understanding how bad the start has been for the Clippers season?
Yeah, I think a lot of fans are used to seeing coaches get fired for less. And this is an organization that has been preaching stability for a long time. And Tyronn Lue has the contract and the vote of confidence from everybody whom it matters to suggest that he's going to see this season through and be a part of whatever happens with the next roster. We just got finished talking about James Harden. James can be a free agent this offseason. Kawhi has 1 year left on his deal after this season, and we don't know what Kawhi's contract status will be when the NBA is done with this investigation that y'all might have heard of. So, Tyronn Lue is looked at as an asset overall. I don't think he's been an asset this year for the LA Clippers. Like the record speaks for itself. Like we don't even need to get into any complicated situational records. Like their record overall is bottom 5 in the NBA right now for a team that doesn't have a pick next year. And really, that's what I'm looking at. It's like you can change the front office or the head coach. I mean, are you getting the best candidate to replace either one of them? Like what general manager? I mean, under with the understanding that the job is the job. It's great to have any of these jobs in the NBA, especially one based in Los Angeles, but what are you signing up for trying to run a team that doesn't have control of a first round pick for the rest of this decade? And same thing with the head coaching position. I think the Clippers are very well aware that, Tyronn Lue has the biggest brass in the entire organization as far as what he's done as a player and what he's done as a head coach. And you're not getting any real improvement on that.
So let's look at the other LA team. I know we never talk about the other LA team, the Lakers. Not sure if anyone's heard of them. LeBron's double-digit scoring streak ended last week. We talked a lot about it on this show. But then, all of a sudden, in the 112-108 win, he goes off for 29 big down the stretch. Are you surprised to see that version of LeBron still in the tank?
No, I'm not surprised. Like it's been 23 years. Like that's why we make a big deal out of any time that LeBron has a night like Toronto, or more relevantly, a night like Phoenix. Like the streak should have ended Monday night when they lost to the Suns and got blown out, and Bron was still in there hunting, shots to extend the streak. Then, like that was really sign where it's like, oh, Braun had a game off and he still came out and didn't really have it. So like, you know, we expect him honestly to play like he played Sunday in Philadelphia and to have the impact that he had while he was missing shots in Toronto. That's the LeBron that is making the money that he's making, that has a reputation that he has. I'm not going to be surprised or shocked when LeBron James still plays like LeBron James. Like the news is the other way around. You know, the man biting the dog is when he doesn't score, when he doesn't make shots, when he doesn't win, when he doesn't positively impact his team. You're gonna have to just balance everything. The good when he wins, the bad when they win, the bad when they lose, and him not playing at all because he's 40 years old.
So then, based on the body of work you've seen so far this year from LeBron, what do you think the realistic ceiling is for the Lakers?
I think the ceiling for them is to be able to win one or two playoff series. Like the Lakers are winning close games. They are undefeated in clutch time. They are undefeated when they're up through three quarters of games. That's a team that you can look at the issues, and the issues are profound when it comes to depth and defense. Like they don't have a lot of bench scoring support, and they don't have a defense that makes you think they can really beat the best of the best in the West, but they've got three of the best guys ever, you know, in terms of this season and the past, combining that, they have three really good on-ball players, and that's going to be tough to deal with in the regular season, and it's going to be tough to deal with in the playoffs.
Okay, so let's stick on this game, but let's look on the other side of it. LeBron went off. Joel Embiid, on the other hand, was 4 of 21 from the field. You mentioned on Twitter that he can't even dunk anymore. Is Joel Embiid washed?
I hate to say it, but I mean, that's what it looks like. Your center shouldn't be shooting 40% from the field, and that's where Joel is right now. When I said he can't dunk, that wasn't just anecdotal. Like, you can go and clip this show, and if he has a dunk this season, y'all can include it. Like, you haven't seen it, you know? I mean, I was watching him actually get some steam to the rim, and then he smoked the layup, and I'm like, Joel dunks that even 2 years ago, you know? Like Joel does a good job drawing fouls, and and honestly, I do think that he's a settling presence for the Sixers overall offensively, but he's inefficient on his own, and everything looks like a chore as far as him moving.
So now what for Philly?
You pray that Tyrese Maxey holds up. You got two guys making a ton of money over the age of 30 who can't create offense for themselves. That's just what it is for the Philadelphia 76ers.
All right, that's doom and gloom. What about the Celtics? We were down on the Celtics coming in this year, but are we sleeping on Boston right now?
I was down on the Celtics too. I think the biggest thing is Jason Tatum's out, but everyone else has been reasonably healthy. And Jaylen Brown has been outstanding as far as the scoring load, and everybody else around him. I mean, Joe Mazzulla has put those guys in position to succeed. He's done an outstanding job as head coach. Jalen is the only guy on that team allowed to turn the ball over. So everybody else takes care of the ball, gets good shots. And they found a pretty good starting center solution. I think Quaid has done a really good job holding them down there. The Celtics are not a good defense this year. They've been a good defense in years past because they had the personnel and the depth to be a good defense. They only defend well about, you know, when Quaid is in the game pretty much, but they're doing a good job blowing teams out, getting off to great starts, and holding on for the most part.
Okay, so let's look at the Warriors. Steph Curry is set to return to practice as early as Wednesday per the team. So obviously getting Steph back is going to be a huge spark plug for this team. Do you think with Steph, this team can actually compete in an incredibly stacked West? And if not, what moves can they make and what moves are available to make them true contenders?
Well, they're the team everyone is chasing as far as the last playoff spot. I think you got seven teams in the West that are multiple games over 500, and then you got the Warriors who are just kind of scraping by. And a lot of that is Steph's health, but you have to anticipate that guys like Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler, guys playing at a high level are going to miss games. Then there's Al Horford, someone who's not playing at a high level and is new to the team and is older than all those dudes. he's dealing with sciatica as well. And not everyone's LeBron James dealing with sciatica. So the biggest move is obviously whatever happens with Jonathan Kuminga, a guy that only gets gassed up the way that he does because he plays for the Golden State Warriors. If it was anybody else, we would be talking about Jonathan Kuminga like we talk about a whole lot of other, late lottery picks that are okay sometimes and not consistently impacting winning. The Warriors had to take him out the starting lineup. Kuminga's missed games with injury. Kuminga hasn't been good defensively. He's good at a lot of specific things, but he's not a good fit. He hasn't been for years. And maybe some team will convince themselves that they are going to give up real value to take on Jonathan Kuminga, something that we have not seen the execution of in 5 years.
All right, so let's stick with potential transactions there because we can't talk about basketball without at least presuming Giannis is going to go somewhere. On Prime this past Friday, Chris Haynes reported, this is quote, Giannis insisted that the 10-15 overall record makes him want to run through the wall and make things work rather than push for a trade. Where are you on the Giannis front?
Well, Giannis is hurt, so I don't know when Giannis is playing basketball again for anybody, let alone the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis has to get healthy. When he gets healthy, I imagine the Milwaukee Bucks record is going to be poor. I think that it probably serves both sides best to see what they can explore. But also, my point with Giannis, it's not easy to build a team around Giannis. Like, we just got to be real about that. The Milwaukee Bucks have only won playoff series with one head coach and a guy who has been fired twice since the Milwaukee Bucks last won a championship. You have to have the right kind of center. And you saw Milwaukee was so desperate to, update their Brook Lopez archetype by getting Miles Turner. And not that Miles has been bad, but that move reeked of desperation. We saw it right away there. And then you need the right kind of defenders, the right kind of secondary scorers. What kind of team is giving up the pieces that it needs to trade for Giannis and still has a team left that can suit Giannis's unique talents? Like, Giannis is very good individually. How a team can be built around him and still be able to contend, especially considering Giannis's increasing durability concerns, I don't see a team like that. I can totally see Giannis staying just because there's no team that wants to upend what they probably have in the middle of this season.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I think it's so easy for all of us as sports fans to play armchair GM and say, just trade him to the Knicks. And it's like, okay, yeah, that sounds great and everything, but how is that transaction happening? In your opinion, what is it going to take for Milwaukee to say, okay, yes, we are comfortable moving on from the face of our franchise? What's a trade package that could be put together that would make this move worthwhile for the Bucks?
Bucks need good players and good picks. Like, the Bucks don't have a good draft pick situation either. And if you're trading him to a team that Giannis is basically going to pick for them, then guess what? You're not getting good picks in the short term from that team because they're going to be competitive at the very least and contenders at the very most. So, like, you need picks and players so that the Bucks can justify the money spent on guys like Miles Turner to compete in the Eastern Conference and to still be good. Like, you're not trading Giannis to bottom out. And the record speaks for itself. Like, the Bucks aren't a good team right now, but the Bucks are in a situation where, if Giannis gets back, if you can scratch out some wins, maybe you're in the playing tournament, you can pretend like you're competitive. I just feel like the intersection of what other teams need and can give up and what the Bucks need to make it work. I don't love the intersection of it happening this year. But things are so bad with the Bucks record, and Giannis is in a point where it's like he's playing this well, but he can't stay healthy enough to prevent the Bucks rolling out the roster that they're rolling out, where we're going to talk about this until the trade deadline passes.
You guys can read him on The Athletic, obviously. Follow him on social media at Law Murray, the NU. Law, really appreciate your expertise, your insight. Thanks for hanging out with us early on a Monday morning, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks,
Great
Law.
stuff from Law. We'll continue updated on the Honest Watch because that's not going anywhere. But in the meantime, coming up next, we're going to figure out what to make of the wild matchup between the Bears, the Packers, and the NFC North overall. Oh, look at that. 3 scary dragons. That describes the Giants, the Packers, the Lions, and the Bears
Yeah.
perfectly. 3
Giants
scary,
aren't that
angry
scary.
dragons. Yeah, no, that's facts. Green Bay beat Chicago yesterday. They take over first in the division. Detroit won on Thursday Night Football. We got 3 great teams in this division that we're going to try and figure out. So we're going to play the family-friendly version, the sports version of a game we all know incredibly well. Start, bench, cut. All right, so we're going to start, bench, cut. Between these 3 teams, you got to start one, you got to bench one, you got to cut one. Caroline Fenton, how you doing it?
Well, first of all, I love that we're approaching the Vikings and none for Gretchen Wieners. Bye. Like they just don't exist in the context of this conversation. Sorry. I hope you enjoy Cancun, Minnesota. This was incredibly difficult because all 3 of these teams have been hot and cold. And for the Bears, for example, like the Bears have gotten lucky and unlucky in some situations. So it's hard to compare, luck and hot and cold teams. But I'm starting Green Bay. A win yesterday gives them a stronghold over the division. I'm going to start Green Bay, even though I don't trust Green Bay, even though I don't really entirely trust Jordan Love. Right now, with a win yesterday over the Bears, it feels like they are an easy team at least to start. I'm going to bench Detroit. It was really difficult. We were doing this last night in our pre-show meeting. We were going back and forth. We were like kombucha girling ourselves through this entire thought process. Like, no, yeah, wait, no, absolutely not. I'm going to bench Detroit and cut Chicago because at Detroit's best, they're better than Chicago. At Detroit's best, I think they might be better than the Packers. The issue is they're not playing at their best on any given Sunday. We don't see their best consistently. But offensively and defensively, I think the Lions are a better football team than the Bears. Look, that's not to say that I'm cutting the Bears because I think the Bears are some rinky-dink kind of team. No. Do not get that twisted. It wasn't an accident that they obliterated the reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. It was not an accident that it came down to the wire yesterday against Green Bay. They were very much so squarely in that game. They were incredibly competitive in that game. But if we're just going to talk about a trust factor, let's be honest, the Bears have won a lot of games being lucky. Fitz, you always say it's better to be lucky than good, but if I'm going to hitch my wagon to any of these teams, I have a hard time doing it just simply on the basis of luck. So I'm starting Green Bay, I'm benching Detroit, I'm cutting Chicago, but I will be 0% surprised if any of these teams take down a Goliath in the postseason or get bounced in the first round of the playoffs.
You say we look like the kombucha meme. I more think I was doing Charlie Day at the map and Always Sunny, pointing at all these things, trying to reconfigure it over and over and over again. Felt like I needed a stiff drink in the middle of it. This is difficult. I, too, am going to start Green Bay. And I don't feel great about that because I agree with you. I think the Lions are the best team when they play their best in this entire division. But I'm going to start Green Bay for a couple of reasons. One, as much as we love Jahmyr Gibbs, I just love Josh Jacobs' ability to fall forward and get yards, to control movement and drives. I really like Matt LaFleur as a play caller more often than not. And then on the defensive side, obviously, not only do you have Parsons, but looking at like Keyshawn Nixon last night, they have an opportunistic defense that knows how to take advantage of bad throws when they're made, right? So I'm going to lean with the star power and the head coach that I trust, with the coordination that I trust. I'm going to lean starting Green Bay, okay? Now that gets me to the fact that I think the Lions are the best team in this division, but I'm going to cut them. And I'm going to cut them, which means I'm benching Chicago. I'm benching Chicago, acknowledging you're right that they've been lucky and not good sometimes. I say that all the time. But the Lions here that we see in front of us, the reason that the one moment that really turned me on all of this is the last game of the season. And for anyone that loves watching the schedule like I do, the last game of the season this year for the Detroit Lions is going to be at Chicago. Now, I know the Lions beat the snot out of the Bears earlier this year. That's not lost to me. But I also know that Jared Goff and the Colts sucks. So now I've got a Lions team that is already a game behind the Bears in the standings. They're going to have to make that game up, right? And so their opportunity to do it is head-to-head. Sure, 100%. Now, the Lions are at the Rams. They have to take on the Steelers. Then they get Minnesota, Chicago. So they've got a couple of winnable games there. The Bears also have a gauntlet. But I think this comes down to the last game of the year. Lions at Bears. And this, to me, is going to be the moment where the winner ends up in the playoffs and the loser ends up not in the playoffs, and we can't believe that it happened. And for that one game, even though I trust the Lions to be a better football team, I do not trust the Lions in Soldier Field to be able to execute at all. So I'm benching the Lions, which feels gross even as I'm saying it. Now, but let's take it to this level. Let's start bench cut the quarterbacks, Caroline, because the funny thing is, for everything I just said, if I'm start bench cutting the quarterbacks, I'm starting Jared Goff. And I just said I don't trust him with the Colts. That's true. But I trust overall body of work, Jared Goff, I trust. Jordan Love is wildly up and down, right? Wildly up and down to me. And sometimes it feels like he's an MVP candidate. Sometimes it feels like he's just lost. Sometimes we're anointing him as the next great quarterback. And sometimes we're looking around saying, man, do they really have their guy? I have been tough on Jordan Love since the day he got the starting job because I think he was anointed really quickly. And if we look at the entire body of the work that he's given us so far, he's kind of inconsistent. So weirdly, I'm going to cut at this point. I'm going to cut Jordan Love, and I'm going to bench Caleb, and I'm just going to see. I'm going to see what I can do. I'm going to see if Caleb can continue some sort of a rise. I know Caleb's accuracy has been dog doo-doo down the field, and I know that Caleb has not moved the way that we expected Caleb to move at some points here, but at least I've seen so little of Caleb, I want to see more. I've seen enough of Jordan Love to know that I have my own trust issues. So weirdly through this whole process, I'm starting the quarterback of the team that I'm cutting, and I don't know how I feel about any of this.
I don't know how I feel about any of this either, because I know either way, like whoever I'm starting, I don't really feel great about it. And whoever I'm benching, I'm like, wait, but they're way too good to bench. But we got to do it somehow, right? I'm also going to start Jared Goff. Now, to your point, if we're talking about January in Soldier Field, I think I might be drafting Jared Goff 32nd overall. Like, I don't trust Jared Goff in the cold, but if there's any team that should be able to rely on their run game and their defense, isn't it the Lions? Isn't that the one team that you would say, okay, we don't trust our quarterback in this situation? We know that for certain going into this game, so we're just going to rely on Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, the best 1-2 punch on the ground in the National Football League, and then just hope that our defense can confuse Caleb Williams enough to squeak by for a win. Like, I do trust the Lions in that. I don't trust Jared Goff in the cold, but I do trust Jared Goff overall. If I have to pick of any of these three quarterbacks, I'm picking Jared Goff, and I feel pretty good about that. His proof of concept, he's seen and played a lot of football. I would trust Jared Goff in postseason situations. Backs are against the wall. I trust Jared Goff there. Now, I'm going to bench Jordan Love and cut Caleb. I don't feel good doing it. Okay, Bears fans? I can already hear you yelling at me through the screen. I don't like it, but I'm going to justify it. Let's look at the fourth quarter in that game yesterday. Shall we? Caleb Williams ties it up. It's a 21-21 game in the fourth quarter. Jordan Love gets the ball back. What does he do? He takes the lead. He's able to lead the Green Bay Packers on an 8-play, 65-yard touchdown drive. Caleb Williams gets the ball back for all the marbles. 3 minutes left in the game. The ball is in your hands. You need to tie this football game. And he throws a pick. So in the have-to-have-it moments, Jordan Love was able to score and Caleb Williams turned the ball over and the game was over. So that's why. Maybe that's not fair. Maybe you're saying, like, you're looking at one quarter when we have an entire season of body of work, but we have a head-to-head. That happened yesterday. So for that reason, although I don't really entirely trust Jordan Love game in and game out, when the Packers needed a play, when the Packers needed to score, Jordan Love was able to deliver and Caleb Williams wasn't.
That interception in the end zone, I was screaming at my television as Caleb started the rollout because the receiver was so open. And then not only was he late throwing the football, he underthrew the football. So you're late, you underthrew it, you threw it behind him for Caleb Williams. I'm man enough to admit when I get my ass kicked in a debate, and I just got my ass kicked. You are right. Like, there is no counter to that. Like, you are absolutely 100% right. I fear some of the up and down of Jordan Love and the inconsistencies that I feel like have been part of his game for the last 2 years. I do. And I'm not sure that Caleb has developed into exactly who Caleb is going to be just yet. I think Caleb's a lot better this year. But you are right. You have absolutely just raked me through the coals, and I think you've got it right. I will amend my list. I don't know if that's allowed, but I'm doing it. I will start Goff. I will go exactly the way you have. I will bench Jordan Love, and I will cut Caleb. That's the only right answer. You've gotten it right.
I win.
You do. You win. You are the winner. We all lost from college football yesterday. Thank you. Crowd going wild. Look at, I never get these. Okay, fine. Speaking of being right and getting it right, Stephen Godfrey always gets it right. We'll figure out what to make of some jarring news from Notre Dame, and I'm not talking just about being left out of the college football playoff. Welcome back to Yahoo Sports Daily. This statement came out from Notre Dame. As a team, we've decided to withdraw our name from consideration for a bowl game following the 2025 season. We appreciate all the support from our families and fans, and we're hoping to bring the 12th national title to South Bend in 2026. That statement released after finding out that they did not make the college football playoff. So let's break it down now with Stephen Godfrey joining us. Stephen, your reaction to this is?
How dare they destroy the sanctity of the Pop-Tarts Bowl? No, who cares? Don't go to a bowl. Those bowls don't mean anything. Those bowls exist so we don't have to talk to our relatives about sensitive political issues during the holidays, okay? I gotta do like 6 days on the road with parents, with in-laws. The first time someone brings up like what's going on in the White House or vaccines or something, I'm gonna be like, yo, Cal's playing Hawaii right now, guys. That's why those bowls exist. Notre Dame got screwed. We're going to talk about it. If they don't want to go play in a completely meaningless exhibition game and risk injury for kids who are going to go to the NFL draft or into the portal, then don't. I have absolutely no problem with this.
Doesn't it feel a little weak? Like
No.
you're a toddler throwing a temper tantrum and stomping your feet and saying, we don't get to go to the playoffs, so we're not going to play at all.
It's tackle football. It's something that with the amount of money invested in the personnel, the kids on the field, players, if you will, young men, if they don't want to undergo the risk of playing an exhibition game, then they shouldn't have to. Do you guys see how dumb this bowl slate is? Did you guys see last night how they ran out of bowl teams and they gave Georgia Southern, one of their division rivals, and App State? Like, I have no issue. The bowls are here to distract us until the actual postseason starts. Now, if for some reason they withdrew from the playoff, which I don't think anyone would do, I have to say stuff like I don't think after the Lane Kiffin saga. We don't really know what could happen anymore. But no, I don't have a problem with it. The Bulls don't mean anything. They never have. It's a cartel. I'm doing Seinfeld. Good morning.
And now they mean less than they ever have before. Because, you know, in a
Correct.
4-team playoff, at least you could justify, hey, the Cotton Bowl, it feels like a nice little consolation prize. But
Right.
when you have more and more playoff teams, then the bowl games seem less and less impactful. But maybe we bury the lead a little bit here. You don't disagree with Notre Dame's decision to sit out of a bowl game. Do you disagree with the committee's decision to leave them out of the playoff entirely?
Ooh, oh, man. Good job. You trapped me, Carolyn. I appreciate that.
Aha.
I don't disagree with the decision. I wrote a column for the Washington Post this morning. I know a lot of Notre Dame fans are upset. So we're going to hold two conflicting thoughts simultaneously. Sports media loves when this happens. People don't get upset at all. We talked about this on the College Football Inquirer. We use an advanced analyst stats. His name's Parker Fleming, CFB Graphs. He's a friend of mine. He does like all the advanced analytics. So he has a system where you can plug teams in right now based on their data right now on a neutral field and see what the spread would be. We did this on our show last night. Notre Dame would be favored against every team in the college football playoff right now on a neutral site except for 3. Notre Dame is a national title worthy program right now. But Notre Dame was left out because of their 2025 schedule, which we conveniently have for everyone to see right now. So I'm going to do a little, I'm going to take my pen. You guys ready? And this isn't going to work, but like, we'll just bear with me. All right. You see number 1 and number 2, that is the University of Miami and Texas A&M. We lost those games. Okay. We lost those games because we're breaking in a new quarterback, because there was a little bit of inexperience at some skill positions coming back from a national title game appearance. However, we won the rest of those games, but I want to point something out real fast. Notre Dame is an independent. This should not come as news to anybody who knows anything about college football. All right, guys. Do you know what Purdue's record was this year? Do you know what Arkansas's record was this year? Not good. 2-10 each. Okay, they cratered out. Do you know what Syracuse's record was this year? 2-10. They cratered out. A lot of injuries. Do you know what Stanford's record was this year? 4-8. They played a lame duck season. They didn't even have a head coach. All right. Boston College, not great, Bob. You might want to look that one up too. Okay. So what am I getting at here? Life as an independent for Notre Dame is so crucially reliant on winning the best 1 or 2 games on your schedule to build a playoff caliber resume. The Irish scheduled with intent. I think they scheduled it as well as humanly possible. The problem is they lost the 2 most important games, which in hindsight, we know now were the first 2 games against 2 teams, by the way, who are in the playoff. Unfortunately for Notre Dame, it came down to them versus Miami, them sort of versus Alabama, which you could have that debate. But the compounding issue, and this is what I wrote about in the Washington Post, was the absolute feckless idiocy of the Atlantic Coast Conference. A bloated, nonsense excuse of a conference with 17 teams. Did you notice I called it the Atlantic Coast Conference? Okay, that features Cal and SMU and Stanford,
Classic.
2 freaking teams from the Bay. All right, guys? What happened last week with Duke pushed JMU in, and then the committee said, all right, well, now we're left with Miami and Notre Dame, right? When they should have just been left with Notre Dame, because Miami should have played in Charlotte. We talked about this last week. They would have easily beat Duke. They would have easily beat Virginia, the other team in Charlotte. And essentially, you bracket busted Notre Dame out of contention based on the rules of the college football playoff. That's why we're here today. It's not the Irish's fault per se. It's also not JMU's fault.
Will this cause catastrophic change?
Of course, because this is a highly corrupt sport filled with people who have way too much power, no centralized authority, and the ability to revise this thing after every season. Those of us who are old, middle-aged, elder millennial, I might be young Gen X, I'm not sure. But those of us who have gray in our hair remember the Bowl Championship Series. You guys remember the Bowl Championship Series? This stupid math formula that they would revise every single year when they didn't like the result. We are essentially living through that process again. Now, the positive is that we have 12 teams instead of 2. That's the positive. Last year, the SEC threw a fit because 4 conference champions were awarded automatic bids to the second round, right? So you had Boise State hosting a game in a bowl, and you had Arizona State, the Big 12 champion, hosting a game in a bowl. And oh my God, did Greg Sankey throw a fit about that? So we revised that this year. So now the 4 byes are awarded to the 4 highest ranked teams, not necessarily conference champions, which is why Ohio State is in there right now. They lost the Big Ten championship, but they still got a bye. Next year, we will have some sort of revision in a knee-jerk, big feelings type of way that somehow reacts to this. The thing is, guys, I don't know what that reaction is going to be because Notre Dame itself helped structure this playoff, okay? Notre Dame, former AD Jack Swarbrick, helped build this system that we are using today with a consideration for the Irish specifically because the Irish can never get a bye. And they were okay with that. Do you understand what I'm saying? They are never allowed to have a bye because conference champions, or sorry, not a bye, an automatic bid. They are never allowed to have an automatic bid. They always have to be considered an at-large team because the only automatic bids that we award in college football to the playoff are to conference champions. And Notre Dame, not in a conference. I've run out of breath.
Should conference champions get auto bids?
I'm fine with it because, look, I'm going to cut through all the crap right now. This is not a Notre Dame discussion, and it wasn't a discussion about Arizona State or Boise last year. There's a majority of people who do not want to see anyone outside of what they consider to be the power conferences in this playoff. Right now, there are people crying foul and screaming and hit dog hollers, as we say in the South, that JMU's in this, that Tulane is in this, that Texas isn't, that Notre Dame isn't. That's it. They want helmets they recognize on the field. I can't agree with that unless we revise college football and just say the group of 5 is not in the FBS. It's something else. You might have a chance of joining a power conference.
Let me cut off, though. Like, it's not about the helmet. I just want to see the best 12. Texas is clearly a better team than JMU. Like, why does the group of 5 have – at what point in any sport in the history of the world did we turn around and say, we need to make sure that we structure this so that every single – like, it just doesn't work.
College basketball. College basketball does it. The NFL does
you really believe?
I mean,
the
NFL's a pure meritocracy, but
yeah.
But the difference in college
Tennessee
basketball,
State has a shot at a national championship. Like the college basketball is not bending over backwards to make sure that the Middle Tennessee State has a real shot at a national championship, and Tulane and James Madison don't have a real shot at a national. They get the right to play in a game where they're gonna get their ass kicked. Even if they win 1, they're not gonna win 3 or 4. Like, what
if
are we
you
doing
win 1,
here?
if you win 1, you should be in. If you have the ability to win 1, this is not the year for the G5, and ironically, they ended up with 2 slots. But that's not their fault. The ACC sucks and built an inferior machine. So you can't get mad at JMU for being here for rules that they didn't even have a part in building. The Sun Belt commissioners don't have any power in this equation. There were 4 people that constructed the last playoff. Craig Thompson of the Mountain West was one commissioner who did. He was the only one for the group of 5. And don't mistake for a second, the SEC and the Big Ten have the most power at the table. They have a larger veto, a larger vote in playoff like structuring anytime they vote to change any aspect of it. It is in the bylaws now. The SEC and the Big Ten have more sway. Fix it. But if you do this, Fitz, and it's just the power 4, you have effectively told every college program possible, like a UNLV, who's trying to spend money, who's trying to make college football relevant, like Tulane, like Central Florida before them, and Cincinnati, who made a 4-team playoff, and Luke Fickell, right? Like Houston. All of these schools that aspire to this, college football is not for you. This is not for you. You can't build your program up. You can't invest. You shouldn't care. This is us. This is not you. And that's fine. If that's what we want to do, that's fine.
We got to move on. We got to move. I was just quick. Caroline made a good argument. Like Cincinnati qualified for the playoffs when it was 4 teams, and it was obviously it can't be done. We can continue this conversation next week. We got to get to our snake draft. We are doing something unbelievable here. We are going to snake draft. We're going to create our little pod of who we think could win the national championship. So we're going to go snake draft style. Anyone that's ever done fantasy football will know this. We're going to go through and we're each going to pick a team, and then we're going to trash talk each other relentlessly about whose group of teams have a better shot at actually winning the national championship. So the only way you win this, I guess, is if your team wins the natty. We'll figure out a point system that'll be arbitrary. But my friend, you get the first pick as the guest on the show. So you've got the entire 12 teams are in front of you. Who you picking to win the national championship?
The Georgia Bulldogs. Done.
I knew it.
You took mine.
I
Dang
Easy.
it.
Easy.
Took mine. Easy. What they did to Alabama on Saturday,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
they have children, Kirby, okay? There are children watching this game. Absolute massacre. So if I have to go to my second option, I acknowledge that this is gross considering they just lost, but I have to rock with Ohio State. I'm going Ohio State. Like, if I have to trust
Ohio State
somebody
off the
to
board.
win 4 straight games, I trust this defense. I'll trust Julian saying. Fitz?
Oh, this is the great moment where I get the turn. So I get 2 straight picks. So I'm not going to make things complicated. I'm going to take the number 1 team in the country because I do feel like they belong in this at some point. So I will take Indiana off the list. And then I get to go again. And this is where it starts to get tricky because I don't have a pick again for a very long time. Yeah, this gets touchy. I'll make like, do I really believe Texas Tech can do it? I'll take Texas Tech. I'll go chalk. I'll go Tech.
Okay.
I think that's a good move.
Thank you.
I struggled with this one between 2 teams. But now that we know what the path looks like, I will defer to the team that I think has the quote-unquote easier path, and I will go the Oregon Ducks.
Oh, damn.
Woo! 2 straight now for Godfrey.
Okay, yeah, I know. I got to look at. Okay, I got to go 2 in a row. I'm trying to think if I need to hedge based on position in the bracket.
Yeah, well, let's be honest. You get the last pick, so you're gonna get either Tulane or James Madison. So congratulations in advance. You'll be able to throw
See,
that
look, there I go, repping. I am going to. Oh man, okay. I was kind of banking on getting Oregon. I'm not gonna lie here. All right, so our top seeds are basically off the board.
Yep.
I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna play it. Actually, I'm not gonna play it safe. Give me A&M.
Woo! Okay.
That was the other team I was going to take.
I knew Caroline was going to get, like, she's been high on A&M all year. So, yeah. All right,
I love A&M.
That means
Is it my pick?
Oh,
Godfrey,
you're still up.
Yeah. No, I'm stalling.
I respect that.
I don't want to go all SEC. That's just not who I am. So I'm going to make a dumb decision here, and I'm going to go with Miami.
Oh, you just left Alabama for Caroline.
I did. I'm going to make the LSU grad take Bama.
That's fine. That's okay. I've picked Bama's very many times in my day because I'm not a stupid person. I am going to take Alabama. I would just like to say that after what we saw from them on Saturday, I don't feel great about it. Like,
yeah,
Tyson
right?
looks a little stinky. These receivers, like, I don't know if they can catch a cold. Like, they made some dumb mistakes on Saturday, but I will be dumb and still take the Alabama Crimson Tide because am I going to count them out? Nope.
Well, I would love to wish you guys so much luck with your group of 5 teams as I scurry up to the board and first take Oklahoma and then second take Ole Miss. And that way,
Oklahoma over Ole Miss.
Yeah, I took Oklahoma first. I have no idea what we're going to see from Ole Miss. I just have no idea. I do think that the absolute chaos could either absolutely blow them up to make them this just monster version of themselves, or I believe so much in continuity in coaching, and I do believe that if Lane Kiffin is worth $8,000 billion million $1 trillion, that there has to be some value he adds to a sideline in a playoff game, maybe. So
see, yeah, I think they're good for 2 wins if they didn't have to see Georgia in the second, because I think Georgia's the best team in the bracket.
It's a brutal. So now, Caroline, you get your choice between Tulane or James Madison.
Roll wave. Give me Tulane. Look, we've already seen their first round matchup head-to-head this regular season, and they got absolutely clapped. So I don't feel great about it. And look, they did get a little help from the officiating against North Texas. But I'll take Jake Retzlaff. Like, I'll take a Tulane team that knows that they're losing John Summerall as soon as they lose in this field. I'll take the kind of galvanizing effect that might have on this team.
And I guess I'm stuck with the Dukes, but that's okay because unfortunately, I also think Oregon is probably the second best team in this bracket right now. But stranger things have happened, right? This is the sport that gave us App State and Michigan. I believe the G5 belongs at least in some way, even if it's just a minor representation. So Go Dukes. Shout out to
Okay,
Harrisonburg,
so
Virginia.
I'm making up arbitrary scoring systems, but we'll have to figure out a way where you get a point for every win in the playoffs, and then an extra point for national champions or something. Well, we'll figure that out. Godfrey, what is? Do you have your team written down for me? What is your team of 4?
Georgia, A&M, the Canes, and the Dukes.
Okay, and Caroline.
Okay, I have Ohio State, Oregon.
That's a good team.
Man, classic SEC homer me taking Ohio State and Oregon, Alabama, and Tulane.
And that's amazing. I've got Indiana, Texas Tech, Ole Miss, and Oklahoma. I I feel pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I feel pretty good being in that back spot. Woo! Oh,
who are you most
good.
confident in? Where's your confidence lie?
I really have no confidence in Indiana. I'll say Indiana. I have the most. Indiana proved something to me in that Big Ten championship game in a big way. Like Fernando Mendoza, just getting smacked in the first drive and still just absolutely delivering a chaotically beautiful pass to me just stuck in my head. Like whatever doubts I had about Indiana were solved by the way that they took on that defense. So I feel good about it. Go ahead.
I was going to say, the coaches I've talked to, just like people in the industry last night looking at the bracket, the 2 matchups they're most excited for. Oregon against the Texas Tech pass rush, which is a legit beast. Okay? So that would be a second-round matchup. And then the one everybody's kind of penciling in, I think it's the Peach. It's not on our bracket right now, is that 2-3 matchup between Ohio State and Georgia, which a lot of people feel like is the de facto national championship, even though I know Ohio State just lost. It was a missed field goal. By the way, I think dropping to 2 and not further down is the correct thing to do there. So I know that was a bit of a minor controversy.
You guys can follow him.
Fiesta.
You can follow him on social media at 38 Godfrey is how you watch him there. And then, of course, watch College Football Inquirer on Yahoo Sports.
Of course,
Steve, we're always, we love every Monday. Come back, hang out with us again next Monday. We will continue to debate, rage the value of these group of 5 teams. Thank you, Steven.
Thanks, Godfrey.
Steven Godfrey hanging out with us. Coming up next, Monday Night Football. We got a big one. We'll figure out who's going to win. Coming up. Welcome back to Yahoo Sports Daily. Tonight, Monday Night Football, we got a huge matchup. The Eagles taking on the Chargers. All eyes are going to be on this because of what it means for both teams, especially the Chargers trying to figure out where they are. Justin Herbert looks like he will be playing, at least according to all estimations, a week after having surgery on his non-throwing hand. Had a plate put in there, but they're still going to trot him out there. So what are you looking at for this one? Is this more about the Eagles or the Chargers to you?
This game is more about the Eagles for me because the Eagles are the team that I most view as a legitimate Super Bowl contender. And because I want to see the wrath of the Eagles be unleashed tonight. I mean, we are in, I don't want to say unprecedented territory, but we are in a very uncomfortable territory for this Eagles team and for Eagles fans that they're coming off of back-to-back losses. That they didn't just lose to the Bears, they got absolutely destroyed by the Chicago Bears the last time that we saw this Eagles team. And they've been stewing on that for over a week now. That we're talking about Black Friday when that game happened. So I want to see, if there's any opportunity to see a pissed off Eagles team, this is the night that we're going to see it. I want to see the Eagles buckle in, put their foot on the gas offensively to a level that we haven't seen so far this season. I'm worried about this Eagles offense. It feels identityless. It feels lackluster. It feels just so meh. I want to see a rested Eagles team and a pissed off Eagles team take advantage of an albeit good Chargers team, but a banged up Chargers team. This is the opportunity for the Eagles to prove to all of us and to prove to me, look, we are still a Super Bowl contender.
There is some moment where we keep waiting for the fire in the belly of the beast to just erupt for Philadelphia, and it hasn't. Now, they've got a bunch of winnable games left on their schedule after this one. They have Washington. They've got the Raiders. They actually have Washington twice. So they've got the chance to get – look, this Eagles team might be stunned if they don't get to at least 11 wins this year. So this isn't about whether or not the Eagles are good. This is about whether or not the Eagles are great. And when you have the level of talent that they've had, there's just the expectation is that they will be great. What I'm looking for is a level of assertion of dominance. I'm talking about the line of scrimmage. I'm talking about from play calling. We've seen a bit of a step up in recent weeks from A.J. Brown. That's part of it, and I understand we talk a lot about it, but, like, let's be honest. Where we are right now with this season for the Eagles is nowhere near where we thought we'd be, particularly from guys like Saquon, because they're not controlling the line of scrimmage. Against the Chargers, they should be able to control both lines of scrimmage, and their defense should be able to absolutely get after the Chargers offense, given the fact that, as we've chronicled before, the Chargers have offensive line injuries all over the place, right? So at some point, the Chargers should be running for their life, and the Eagles should dominate this football game. If they have that thing, if they have that spark, if they have that usual carryover of Super Bowl team, we've won, we know how to find that next gear that we've gotten used to in modern generations. If they have that, it should show its head tonight. If it doesn't, then I just think we have to start accepting that while the Eagles might be pretty good, they don't have that killer instinct that prior Eagles teams have had.
I want to see that killer instinct. I know it's there. It's not like this Eagles team is drastically, wildly different than the version of the Eagles that we saw last year. Like, I want to see that level of pissed offness, which is obviously a word. I want to see Kevin Patullo go into his bag and show us something exciting offensively. Because I'm getting to the point with this Eagles team, Fitz. I'm bored. Like, I'm bored when I watch this Eagles team. And I know that I understand that the Eagles' prerogative is to win football games and to not entertain me. So I'm not just like, okay, dance out there. Dance, Mikey, dance. I know that's not their job. I know their prerogative is to win football games. But their offense has been so boring to watch. Their offense has been so, at times, feels predictable to watch. At times, it just feels so one-dimensional to watch. Let's see that second dimension kind of get unlocked here. I also want to see Nick Sirianni maybe not make a weird, questionable decision on a fourth down late in the game that we're all looking around like, why would you do that? Why would you do that, especially in a close game? I want to see the Eagles not play with their food. I want to see the Eagles dominate a team that I think that they are truly capable of dominating.
The other side of this coin is the Chargers, who are sitting at 8-4. And right now, with all their injuries, it's so impressive they're sitting at 8-4. When you look at their remaining schedule, I don't know a more brutal schedule left for anybody anywhere, because they have the Eagles, then they go to Kansas City, then they go to Dallas, a tough place to win. Then they have to take on the Texans, who earlier in the show we talked about whether or not they can win the Super Bowl. And then they finish the season in Denver. You want to talk about a gauntlet? Right now for this Chargers team, look, I get at 8-4, everything's in front of them. if the Chargers go on an absolute slide down the end of the season, I just want us to have the context of at least acknowledging that a banged-up Chargers team that has found a way to get themselves to 8-4, which I credit tremendously, has a gauntlet in front of them that will impact the rest of their season. We'll be here, obviously, breaking it out. You got to pick. Who do you think wins?
I'm going to take the Eagles. I'll take the Eagles to win by 10. I'll say it's kind of a low-scoring affair. I'll say 21-10. Final score, Eagles.
This game being in LA makes it a little closer, but I'm with you. I think the Eagles win this probably by double digits, where the Chargers are who the Chargers are, plucky, and the Eagles don't run away with it. We will break it down tomorrow right here at 9 a.m. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz. Thanks so much for watching Yahoo Sports Daily. Come back tomorrow.